Alright folks, welcome back. This is Tony the Hoofer, continuing on with the Football Manager 16 new player guide. We've finished our preseason now. I've jumped a week or so, a couple of weeks into the future since our last video. We've had a pretty good run of things. After our draw with Balgong, we lost against Hangzhou, against Lorient, but then we had a pretty good run. A win against Nantes, a win against Mainz, a draw against Rennes, were all away games. We had another away game against Anderlecht, which we won. Then we beat Barca at home, and we beat Shenhua quite happily. We're actually lucky in this game. It was, if we have a look at it, they had they had a lot more shots than us. It was quite dicey. They had more possession. It was an ugly game, but we scrapped it through. Our game against Barca was actually quite nice. We did pretty well. We deserved it on the balance of shots and shots on target. So it was nice. Messi scored in the 90th just to mess with our program, and they definitely had the possession on us. But yeah, we had a good game. They had some shockers. It's a good game. Anyways, since we were last recording, we've added a couple of players. We've added the young right back, Hida Te Avest, who's a reasonable, he's a useful cover in the first team at the moment, but he's got the potential to be excellent. So I'm quite excited about him. He was quite expensive. His value's 6.25, but ouch, 10.5. It's actually fairly good, but it was still a hefty price to pay. We've also made an outlandish loan deal for a player who instantly got injured, Rezi Bentancur. He's a right-sided winger, but he's I'm intending to use him more in the centre. He's on loan from Boca Juniors. He's valued at 1 million, but we were facing some stiff opposition from Real Madrid, from all sorts of people. Madrid were the scariest ones. But yeah, Madrid, Atletico Madrid, a couple of French teams. Yeah, I can't remember. A lot of people were looking for him, and we were lucky enough to snaffle him on loan. We've included a very large purchase fee, which I expected we'd need to do. If we have a look at his contract, which is here, we can see that we've got an option to buy him for the quite hefty £10 million. It's 10 times what he's worth. He'd likely be worth it. It's very hard to, very hard to say. We'll keep an eye on him over the season, and yeah, I think that 10 million was too high. But that he's 18 years old and valued at £1 million already is a good sign. Hopefully he can get over this injury sooner rather than later. It's really, sports hernias are very frustrating ones. They don't actually have any rhyme or reason, they just occur. But he's only out for a couple of weeks. But you will see that our injury list has gotten a whole lot worse. If we go to I'm certain there's an area in here that shows us our injury list. Maybe it's at the club. And right. What about? Strange. That's okay. We'll go back to the squad, and we'll sort it by information, and again by information, and we'll see that we've quite the sick list. We loaned out Brad Smith because we got another young left back who's a little bit more promising. Where is he now? Josh Timon. He's a young dude. He's potential of about 3.5, but we got him for. He's worth 350,000, but we got him for 650,000. So that's quite a good deal. 625. So that's quite a good deal, especially for an English player. So we'll see what we can do with him. I'm hoping that he'll be a long-term project, and he'll come good in the very long term. I'll clean this up a little bit so we can see the type of a squad we've got going for us coming into the Premier League. Actually, no one's. I think he's just come to us. We'll see if we can push him out on loan, because I just don't see him getting any time with us. I just want to try and reduce our wages a little bit. Camille Grabara is still looking good. What I did want to do, though, there's a couple of things that I needed to show you through before we continue on into the season proper. We haven't set up any individual training, so we'll go to the training now. We'll have a look at individual, and in here we're able to set training for individuals. I just want to have a look at the player's potential ability according to our coaching staff, because that can help me decide who needs specialized training. Actually, I should do age as well. There we go. So the young players, when we're setting individual chores for individual training for them, we want to recognize their age, and we want to focus primarily. We go to development and training, focus primarily on these areas. Young players' physical abilities are quite malleable. They're not at all later on. So we've got Camille Grabara. He's a goalkeeper, and one of the most important parts of goalkeeping is being agile. So we're going to set his focus to agility, and it's at present it's 8.0. We'll keep an eye on that. Eventually it will peak out. Keepers often peak out around 11, so hopefully in the next year or so we can get maybe 1.5 points on his agility, and then the next year we'll get him up to about 11, and hopefully if we get 1.5 each year, we'll get him up to about 11. And in the meantime, he's still his primary focus is being a goalkeeper, and this is just sort of his homework. What we will see is sometimes you can set players tasks that they don't like. We'll have a quick run through, see if we can find one that he doesn't like. No, he seems to be quite easily pleased. We'll stick with agility. I'm certain we'll find another player who needs who doesn't like what his training set is. Here's Rodrigo Bentancur. He's the new winger that we bought. We are going to, as I said, try to get him to focus on being an advanced playmaker would be useful with his skills. He's got some wonderful skills for a young player. For an 18-year-old kid, his bravery is superb, his flair is superb, his teamwork and vision in particular was the one I liked. Between flair and vision, if he keeps those up, we'll focus on some of his physical stats in the meantime. And then long term, if we can try and secure his loan again next season and again the season after that, we'll try to wind down his contract with Boca and hopefully pick him up really cheaply, and hopefully by that point we'll have given him enough games and given him enough love that he'll want to stay with us. So we should be able to get a nice transfer deal for him. But yes, we don't need a winger. We definitely don't need a standard right winger. If anything, we'd want an attacking midfielder. So we're going to go for the advanced playmaker role, which actually, that's interesting. I thought flair was one of the primary options for a advanced playmaker, but apparently not. It's a secondary. What, strange. Advanced playmaker does seem to match his skill set very well though. His decisions aren't great actually, but that's something that will come with time. Yes, okay. I'm quite happy with this. He's quite a large lad as well, so what we'll do is we'll put him on a strength focus in the short term, and then probably look to maybe squeeze a couple of points into a point or two into jumping reach, being 6'1" in the midfield, and being able to do some jumping, do some heading. That would be really handy. Might turn him into a more box-to-box type midfielder, but we'll keep him training on the advanced playmaking side of things, and we'll, as I said, look to try and improve his strength slightly. Although improving his pace would be nice too. He's a big lad. I think it makes sense to go for strength. He should have a natural inclination towards that. Sheijiojo is a winger. It plays out there, so we can look to yep, keep him as a winger. He seems to like that. We will, he's a young lad, so we want to look at these stats. His natural fitness is awful. Well, not awful, but bad. His career won't go much beyond 30, I'd expect. 10, once you get below 10, it seems like your career is really tailing off by the time you're 28. So the players who have 14, they'll be playing till they're 30, 31 quite happily. If you're up to 18, you'll be 32, 33, and then if you hit 20, you're 35, and they are very much the exception. They need to have good natural fitness and also good stamina, and then if you're still playing at 35, you've got those in spades. So our focus for Sheijiojo will be, I think, his stamina. Wingers do a lot of running, so getting his stamina up a little bit above 11 is a good idea. We'll have a hard time with it because stamina is very much premised on natural fitness, as I understand it, and with a natural fitness of 9, this progress will be slow, but if we can get him up to 13, then he'll be a good player, at least for the next 8 years. Pedro Chiravella, deep-lying playmaker. I think I'd prefer him to train there. We're not going to use defensive midfielders too often. In fact, I'm kind of tempted to not use defensive midfielders at all. So we'll change his training away from being a defensive midfielder to being a central midfielder. Deep line playmaker is excellent. He's got already well attuned to that. His teamwork isn't great and his off the ball isn't great, but their mental stats, he'll usually focus on those somewhere around 23, 23 and upwards. Typically you'll do physical from 16 through 20, technical from 20 through really anywhere. You can keep going with these until about 26, I suppose, and then after that you're wasting your time doing anything other than mental. But you can begin mental a little bit earlier. Like I said, around about 23 you'll start seeing some improvement in the mental side of the game. But these will also, all of these stats will improve with gameplay, with playtime. Particularly the mental ones I seem to see improve with a lot of game time. So with Pedro Chirivella, we're going to, he's got a lot of stuff he could improve on. As a midfielder, you do need stamina, you do need pay. You don't need pace so much if you're a deep lane playmaker. So I might... yeah, he needs a lot of work. Everything here would be advantageous to improve for him, except for jumping reach perhaps. So I think stamina is probably the most important one. That's, if you don't have good stamina you can't stay on the pitch for long enough. So we'll go for that for him. Joe Gomez, another very important new young player. He's a central defender by, ball playing defender. So he's going to, passing would be useful for him. Oh, actually we need to focus on these. He's got excellent physical stats. Yeah, those are superb. I'm going to try jumping reach. Jumping reach is one that seems to annoy a lot of players. No, he's happy with that. We'll keep an eye on this because jumping reach is terrifically useful, but also just stops dead and then doesn't improve anymore. So we'll have to have an investigation of this in a couple of months' time. Jordan Rossiter. We've actually sent Jordan Rossiter out on loan because I don't think he's going to get any game time with us. Jerome Sinclair, the boy who won't sign a new contract. Very, very frustrating. I'm going to try something here because I very much want Jerome to sign a new contract with us. I'm going to warn him, sorry about that, I'm going to warn him that I'm going to put him on the transfer list. He at the moment is pushing to leave the club at the end of the year on a free transfer. We'd get some money from it, but nowhere near what an 18-year-old Englishman with the potential to be superb should be getting. So I'm going to go use this area to warn the player that I'll transfer list him if he doesn't sign a new deal. He didn't respond to that, so this is only a warning. Damn it, that didn't work out at all the way I hoped. It's actually reduced his morale. Yeah, that's not good. Well, we've got to do what we can to keep him on the books. Let's go to his development anyway. He's going to play as a striker. He's best as a poacher. He's not good enough to ever become a complete forward, but poachers and advanced forwards are both good. Poacher, I think he's probably better attuned to because he's not particularly fast. Let's have a look at advanced forward. Yeah, okay, he may be better at that than he is at... But his heading is atrocious. That's the main problem. With a poacher, they're very much thinking about working with their feet. And given that he can barely jump off a couch, and he couldn't hit to save his life, I think he's going to be best served as a poacher long term. What we'll do, because he's still young, we'll focus on agility. He likely won't like this. Oh no, he doesn't seem to mind it. Okay, if we can get his agility up to 12 or 13, he'll end up being good. Depending on, I don't imagine he'll stay with us that long, but that's fine. I'm going to ignore some of the other players because I don't really care. Cameron Brannigan's never going to make it to the first team, I don't think. Jordan Ibe is an important one. Being a winger, we'll have a look actually. He likes being a winger on the right, but he could be trained to be an inside forward on the left. We'll have a look here and see what these stats require. So his crossing isn't great. That would be a good thing to focus on later. His first touch isn't great, neither is his passing. So all of those, he's got plenty of room to move there, but he's already got a good base. With his, he's got fantastic physical stats as well. I'm a little stumped as to what to go for, to be honest. His balance, we'll try and eke a point or two into balance, because that helps wingers stay on their feet when they're getting pushed off the ball. His strength is already fine. His stamina might be nice. I think balance will do. We'll keep an eye on that for the time being. Divock Origi has... Oh, whoops. Oh, he didn't play in that game, right. He's had a fairly indifferent pre-season. Oh, his last one was quite good, I guess. Yeah, that's true. We'll have a look at his preferred position as complete forward. To be a complete forward, he needs to up his heading, his jumping reach. Yep, jumping reach is where he's focused, and he doesn't mind it. Okay, I really thought he'd complain about that. Emre Can, for playing defender, is not at all what we want you doing. We want you, my friend, to be a central midfielder. He's going to focus on being a deep lying playmaker. He's got great stats for that. Positioning's not great, but that's one that you can start training quite early. So we'll likely look to improve his... his stats are all really good, except for acceleration, and acceleration is a particularly hard one to train. You can't train directly in acceleration, you train in quickness, which is something of a combination of pace and acceleration. But we'll see if we can up that, because he's already got the stamina to move around all around the pitch at pace. That'd make him really good. And defensive playmaker, we'll see he'll be focusing on his first touch, on his long shots, on his passing, and he's already reasonable at all of those. I think this is a good decision for Emre Can. Where are we down to? Denny Ward, we're not fussed with. Alberto Moreno, we'll have a look at him. He's still quite young, but being 22, he's not really going to see a great deal of change in his physical stats. So we're going to focus on trying to make him a good fullback. He's got a couple of shortcomings in this area. His marking's not great. His passing's okay. So we're going to focus on his marking. Let's see what the... he needs more playing time and match experience. Yep, that's fine. But he hasn't given us a recommendation on training. So I'm going to go for marking, because that is an important thing for a back, for a fullback. Positioning could be useful as well. He's just old enough that positioning is an option for training, I'd say. But we'll try and get some marking training into him. If we could get him to 14, I'd be quite happy with that. Danny Ings, another relatively young chap who's past the physical stats part of his training, but there's plenty of things he can be doing here. He's got great composure and great finishing. What can we do to make him, his off the ball's good as well? What can we do to make him great? I think if we upped his dribbling, would probably be the best part. We're not too fussed about his passing because we're not going to be playing... maybe we'll bump his passing up to 13 and then look at him again. Sure, poor old Flano's still injured. Ings, Coutinho. Coutinho's 23, okay. Wow. Cool. Training for one Philippe Coutinho will be an inside forward on the left or an advanced playmaker on the left. What's he missing to be a great inside forward? His long shots aren't terrific, his finishing isn't terrific. If we went for advanced playmaker instead, he really has got that in spades, hasn't he? Yep, okay. Let's focus on making him one of the best advanced playmakers in the world. We'll focus on his passing, which I imagine he should be able to bump quite easily. If we can get that up to 16 or up to 18, and then work on his first touch, he should be a monster. Decisions will come naturally as he plays, as will composure and anticipation. All of these will increase by themselves. So yeah, I think passing is a good idea for Philippe. Stephen Cork, we're not worried about in the slightest. Firmino, 23-year-old Firmino, wow. He's really good there, but I think he's not far off being a good attacking midfielder. Ah, the concentration, damn. Yeah, concentration's a hard one. You can't train. There's certain stats that you can't train directly. There's only a few mental stats that you can train in. The rest of them occur naturally. Teamwork would be nice. Decisions would be nice. Composure would be nice. We can actually train his composure quite well. I'm tempted to go for that, but again, I think his passing could be better. So we'll do. He and Coutinho can go off and play passes in the back of the pitch. Nathaniel Klein, first defender I think that we've had a look at. Oh no, we had a look at Joe, didn't we? So we want to keep him as a fullback. We want to focus on, I think his passing could be nice, his crossing could be, yeah, there we go. crossing will make him a beast. If we have him focused on crossing and nothing but for the next year or so, we'll see wonderful results from him, I think. Tickers, we'll have a look here. I don't like his being only a supporting target man. Actually, let's have a look at other options. He's not terrifically far away from being a complete forward. His concentration's quite crap. His passing isn't great. His long shots aren't great. His dribbling's not great. But I'd rather have a player who can do a bit of everything than a guy who can only play one type of football. I think we're going to... He's got 15 finishing, 15 composure. Those are very primary stats for finishers, for strikers. His dribbling's not hot. His long shots aren't hot. His passing's not hot. I think... I'm tempted to train him on off the ball. And his positioning could also do with a lot of work, which would be nice for when he's working at set plays. But I think dribbling might let him get into position better, would allow him to sort of work through defenders that instead of at the moment he's just trying to muscle through. Henderson is injured. Allen is topped out. Sacco, I think, is worth having a look at. He's training as a... I think he's got the potential to be a good ball-playing defender. Oh, his first touch is pretty wonky. Oh, his technique's awful as well. Central defender he's a bit better at. Yeah, he's got excellent defensive... The two primary defensive... well, defender stats are marking and tackling, so I'm happy with those. Concentration though, that's a shame. Really not certain which would best work for my man Sacco. See, his passing's already good. His first touch is shite. That's why he looks like Bambi on skates. Technique. So they think he'd advance from positioning. I don't think so. His vision's alright as well. I'm going to try this. I think it's worth giving it a go. If we can improve his first touch, but we'll have his primary focus as a central defender, first touch as a supplementary, then we'll keep an eye on it, and if we can get it moving in the right direction, we may look to do technique after that and see if we can't make him able to play as any type of defender. That would be nice to have a really versatile defender. Dejan Lovren, training to be a... He's in a similar but less terrifying position to Sacco. I'm going to put him on composure. Composure's a strange, omnipresent sort of a stat. It's will they make a stupid decision, kind of a thing. We'll see what happens there with Lovren, because I don't want to sell him. I've seen him go. I've seen him get good. No one else here really needs training. No, we've gone through all of the important ones. And so that's a quick run through of the training. We can also they've changed that. Okay, from the old foot in the what was the last one I had prior to this? 14. In Football Manager 14, you could set how hard they trained, but apparently not in this version, which surprises me. I was certain you did it in here as well. But that's been the training, the individual training component. There's actually some youngsters that I want to focus individual training for as well, who are Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's a right back who's training to be a fullback, and his focus wants to be. His pace is quite awful, so he's going to be doing quickness training. He's nice and young, so we've got a good chance of that working out for him. Why is he there? Weird. Bobby Adekanye. Bobby Adekanye, I didn't mention him. This is a player who we've managed to get from Barca out of the blue. Our head of youth development managed to bring him over at 16 years of age from Barca, which is kind of brilliant. Yeah, they loaned him to PSV and then he joined us, which is superb. So he's clearly got some work to do before he becomes a viable option for us, but at 16 years old, plenty of time for that. He's training as an attacking left mid winger at the moment. That's fine. Wingers need pace, and he has very little, so like Alexander-Arnold, he'll be focusing on quickness. Tony Gomez, these lads, I'm tempted to leave them for the time being. I'll see how they progress, just focusing on their primary roles, and we'll reevaluate when we do our next training cycle. I try and do 4 cycles of training a year, of individual training a year, so we'll see how they get on in the middle of the first half of the season. Here's our new boy. We haven't actually set individual training for him yet. Headed to Avest. He prefers playing on the right hand side. We're happy with that. That's exactly what we bought him for. We don't want a limited fullback though, we want a fullback. So we're going to be putting his focus on pace. He's young enough that at 18 that we should be able to get a couple of ticks up. If we can get him up to 13, I'll be happy. 14 would be better. We'll see how we go. We'll keep an eye on his training. Thiago Aluri. He's a centre back who likes being a central defender. I'm happy with that. He's got some work to do. His strength is woeful. Wow. How old is he? 22. This will be a tricky one, but we'll try it. You just can't be a centre back with strength that low. So we'll hope that we can get it up to at least 13, maybe 14. Where it's a hard-fought battle, given that he's already 22, but we may be able to do something with him. Josh Timon, he's the left back that we got in from Huddersfield. He prefers being a fullback. That works for me. Hopefully we can get his focus purely on that. His stamina is awful. His pace isn't great. Let's focus on his stamina. The more stamina he has, the more game time we can give him, the more he'll improve in his other stats. So that's how we're going to approach his training. Jordan Williams, centre back by the looks. Actually, let's go back to his overview. He's not. He's better as a right back. But yes, that's right. He's the one who's not very good at crossing, who was doing those good crosses out of nowhere. I'm tempted to convert this chap away from being a limited fullback, which he's pretty good at. He's got some good stats for it, but he'd need a lot of practice to get good, and I don't think he's got the time to do it. At 19, we'd need to get several things trained for him, and I don't think he'll have the time, particularly pace. Actually, you know what? Let's just go for pace. We'll try to get some pace for him. We'll train him as a right back, as a right fullback, and that gets him training on a nice wide range of things. We'll see where the most improvement happens, and that will allow us to decide what his future focus should be. If the scores move readily, if these ratings move readily, then it's a good indicator that they'll continue to move. So a fullback's a good thing, a good wide spread of options, and we're going to focus on his quickness. Happily, he's okay with it. That's good. Shea Ojo. He is preferably a left winger, left attacking mid winger. His training will be as a winger, and stamina was his focus. I think I've set a couple of people already. Shea Ojo, Stephen Corkner. I'm not going to worry about these 3 stars and less. They're unlikely to make the grade. We'll keep an eye on them, and if we see any of them getting particularly good, then perfect. If not, then we'll move along. We've already done the under 18s, we've done the under 21s, and we've done the youngsters in the first team. So I think we'll wrap this one up here. We've had a good look at all the different formations and had a quick chat about what skills are relevant to them, but it's easy enough to tell by clicking on a player, going to development, choosing the formation, and it will tell us. This chap, oh yuck, God, that's truly awful. Is that really what he's best at? Can't be. Oh, there we go. Okay. So he prefers being a attacking midfielder on the right hand side, an inside forward, and the stats that show up as blue are the ones that are important to him and the ones that he will be trained in, and that we would choose his focus based primarily on these, and except in the case of a young player, in which case we'd look to bump his physical stats. This player is just beyond repair. I wouldn't even know where to begin with him. Balance would be my best guess to try and make a decent inside forward from him. But that's the basics of the personal training. We'll leave this one here, and we'll be back shortly. Thanks very much.